So Benny Johnson did a great video watching Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, or as it used to be, Secretary of War, going off at the Pentagon this morning on fake news, CNN and MSDNC, over the Iran bombed nuclear sites. And he just gives a quick video of Pete just going off on these liars that keep saying that they weren't totally demolished, they weren't decimated. And by the way, it was a leak that came from obviously the deep state in the Pentagon or one of these intelligence agencies, three-letter agencies, trying to make Trump look less than presidential or a liar. And they always lose. And here's Pete giving his 2 cents on that, and Benny sitting back and narrating it.
That destroying press.
Fake news, CNN, MSNBC, or the New York Times, there's been fawning coverage of a preliminary assessment. I've had a chance to read it. Every outlet has breathlessly reported on a preliminary assessment from DIA. I'm looking at it right now. Again, it was preliminary, a day and a half after the actual strike, when it admits itself in writing that it requires weeks to accumulate the necessary data to make such an assessment. It's preliminary. It points out that it's not been coordinated with the intelligence community at all. There's low confidence in this particular report. It says in the report there are gaps in the information. It says in the report multiple linchpin assumptions are what this assessment, a linchpin assumption, you know what that is? That means your entire premise is predicated on a linchpin. If you're wrong, everything else is wrong. And yet, and still, this report acknowledges it's likely severe damage. Again, this is preliminary, but leaked because someone had an agenda to try to muddy the waters and make it look like this historic strike wasn't successful. I'm going to get to the chairman in a moment because he's going to lay out the particulars for you based on his professional military experience. But here's what other folks are saying. The DIA that put that report out says this is a preliminary low confidence report and will continue to be refined as additional intelligence becomes available. How about the Israeli Atomic Energy Commission? The devastating U.S. strikes on Fordow destroyed the site's critical infrastructure and rendered the enrichment facility inoperable. Have any of these quotes made their way into the New York Times or the Washington Post? MSNBC? CNN? Any of these?
Hold on, Pete. You misspoke. It's fake news, CNN or MSDNC. Come on, get it right.
Quotes, how about this one? This is a new one from the UN, the United Nations. No friend of the United States, or certainly Israel often. Here's the head of the UN Atomic Energy Agency this morning, Rafael Grossi. U.S. and Israeli strikes caused enormous damage to Iran's nuclear sites. Don't take my word for it. How about the IDF's chief of staff? I can say here that the assessment is that we significantly damaged the nuclear program, setting it back by years. I repeat, years. The Iranian foreign minister, the spokesman, our nuclear installations have been badly damaged, that's for sure. I'm sure that's an understatement. John Radcliffe, the director of the CIA, putting out a statement just last night. CIA can confirm that a body of credible intelligence indicates Iran's nuclear program has been severely damaged by recent targeted strikes. This includes new intelligence from a historically reliable, very different than preliminary assessment with low confidence. He's saying historically reliable and accurate source and method that several key Iranian nuclear facilities were destroyed.
And you want to know why the predicate to all this, why you know that these things were destroyed? When you drop 14 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs from far up, drop down on anything, they go 200 feet below the earth and they don't detonate or explode until they get into the structure under the ground. They go right through concrete, steel, granite, whatever it may be, because they are armor-piercing plated bombs. The same armor, the same metal that goes through bulletproof vests and everything else If you shoot a gun and the bullet's armor-piercing round will go through the car, will go through the engine block, but they don't weigh 30,000 pounds. And when you drop a 30,000 pound bomb from a B-2 bomber, it's going to cause a lot of destruction. So whoever believed this fake news deserves to, deserves it.
And would have to be rebuilt over the course of years. CIA continues to collect additional reliably sourced information.
Pete Hegseth wasn't finished. He went on to absolutely rip the guts out of an old colleague of his, somebody named Jennifer Griffin at Fox News. This is some friendly fire. Here you go.
It's about highly enriched uranium. Do you have certainty that all the highly enriched uranium was inside the Fordo Mountain, or some of it, because there were satellite photos that showed more than a dozen trucks there 2 days in advance? Are you certain none of that highly enriched uranium was moved?
Of course, we're watching every single aspect, but Jennifer, you've been about the worst. The one who misrepresents the most intentionally.
I don't.
What the president says. I'm familiar.
The ventilation shafts on Saturday night. And in fact, I was the first to describe the B-2 bombers, the refueling, the entire mission with great accuracy. So I take issue with that.
I appreciate you acknowledging
You
that
have
this was the
issues.
the most successful mission based on operational security that this department has done since you've been here, and I appreciate that. So
Absolutely.
we're looking at all aspects of intelligence and making sure we have a sense of what was where.
Pete Hegseth then clapped back at a reporter who was trying to be cute with him. Wasn't taking it. Guy was on fire today. Let's go.
What's where?
Acknowledge the female pilots that also participated in this mission. The early messages that you sent out only congratulated the boys.
So when I say something like our boys and bombers, see, this is the kind of thing the press does, right? Of course, the chairman mentioned a female bomber pilot. That's fantastic. She's fantastic. She's a hero. I want more female bomber pilots. I hope the men and women of our country sign up to do such brave and audacious things. But when you spin it as, because I say our boys and bombers as a common phrase, I'll keep saying things like that, whether they're men or women. I'm very proud of that female pilot, just like I'm very proud of those male pilots. And I don't care if it's a male or a female in that cockpit, and the American people don't care. But it's the obsession with race and gender in this department that's changed priorities. We don't do that anymore. We don't play your little game.
And that's a fact. No one gives a shit. Male, female, black, white, orange, quite frankly. As long as you can do the job and get it done with the same level of accuracy, with the same level of success as anyone across the board, no one gives a shit what you look like, what sex you are, where you come from. All we care is if you can get the job done. The goddamn Democrats and the press will push for this nonsense about sex or religion or skin color or whatever. No one gives a shit. And when Pete Hegseth says the boys, that could be a female or a man. It doesn't matter who it is, which it's a female or a man. It's a group. We are, let me just say this. Diversity in the military is not our strength. Unity is our strength. Diversity is a weakness. And these idiots who never fought a day in their lives will never understand that. And Pete should stop wasting his breath because they will never understand that.
Games. Yes, right there.
Uranium was removed from the facility before the B-2 struck.
So I'm not aware of any intelligence that I've reviewed that says things were not where they were supposed to be. Moved around.
And then, in order to prove that all of this was in fact totally fake, the military got out their secret weapon, which is, of course, video of this weapon system working. Something Natasha Bertrand doesn't have. Here you go.
One weapon. So if you take a view of this as 5 additionals, you'll get a sense of what this looks like. Hopefully you can see it and there's not too much reflection. Tom runs our videos out there. We'll run it at full speed so you can see it and then go back through it. Go ahead, Tom.
amazing.
Keep it going for a minute. You'll see inside the mission space. Unlike a normal surface bomb, you won't see an impact crater because they're designed to deeply bury and then function. I know there's been a lot of questions about that.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the bombshell of them all.
And if CNN or MSDNC or the deep state, go get a goddamn shovel and start digging if you want to prove otherwise. But I can guarantee you that that bunker underground, no matter how deep it is gone. And anyone that was underground was incinerated instantly.
President Trump saying the Democrats are the ones who leaked this information on the perfect flight to nuclear sites in Iran. They should be prosecuted. Well, let's definitely hope it doesn't go the same way as term one, where Democrats were able to leak with impunity and nothing would ever happen. This would be a wonderful sight to see them actually hunt down who was leaking this intel. It is, though, a time for panic on CNN. Perhaps you can see that CNN has changed its tune that Donald Trump's mission was a failure in this series of clips. All right. Sounds like somebody's backtracking. Now put him in jail.
What we now know from that briefing, first time we know it, is that as it was designed, as these massive ordnance penetrators with significant computer software engineering went directly down those three ventilator shafts, specifically as designed. And until you actually do it, you never know if it's going to work. It worked. It seems to have worked flawlessly. That is very important information. He also pointed out some things we take for granted.
And her
Patriot
face. They are
Interceptor is
disgusted
traveling at
that
3,000
they were able
miles
to
an
do
hour.
what they were
about Mach
supposed to do.
4
Look at her
hit a
face.
ballistic missile.
It's ugly
traveling at
before
about 6,000
she makes
miles an
that
hour,
push.
Mach 8. This is really difficult. We take for granted how this stuff all works. I thought that was very important layout. So as I come out of this briefing, I now know EDA level 2, as I mentioned. Level 1, first 24 hours, look.
I don't even want to listen to these people on CNN, but I can tell you this. They want anyone to fail when it comes to Donald Trump. Anyone, his military, which is our military, anyone, they want them to fail. And it wasn't a failure. It was a total success. And now the world's becoming a more peaceful place. And if we can get Russia and Ukraine under control, who knows how wonderful everything can go, in what direction. Only can go up, can't go down. But we ended Iran. We ended their nuclear ambitions. That's over. They can't threaten the Middle East anymore. They can't be the #1 state sponsor of terror. And the Abraham Accords, which Donald Trump did in his first term, they only had certain countries signing on because in the back of their heads with these Middle Eastern countries, they know that Iran is there. They know they have all these proxies that attack and do all this terrorist bullshit. They also know that Iran was building or trying to build a nuclear bomb. And even if they didn't get that nuclear bomb or the nuclear material to 90%, it's at 60%, which means they could make a dirty bomb. They could put something in a suitcase and bring it across their border and blow up a whole lot of people. So just because they didn't get to 90%, now Trump has to go and track down, and the CIA, I'm sure, is doing this, any and all possibilities of where that nuclear material could have gone if they got any out. But quite frankly, now the whole Middle East doesn't have to worry about Iran. They don't really have to worry about their proxies. They don't have to worry about much of anything. So at this point right now, the Middle East, for once in the past 4 decades, can actually come together. And the bully on the block, Iran, who was harassing everyone, really doesn't mean much anymore. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. It's only going to get better. I'm going to give you my side of what I believe is going on. Not anyone else's side, just what I believe to be the truth. I might get it wrong sometimes, but most of the time I'll get it right. Don't listen to CNN. Don't listen to goddamn MSDNC. And barely listen to Fox because it's all one and the same. It's all the legacy media. Thank you.
Looking at imagery. Level 2,